Yo, what's up? So real quick, this is my second take. My first take I took way too long. It's like the video was like 1 hour long. I rambled way too long. So yeah, preface. This is mostly just my opinion and from my experience using the Espers and from what I've seen other people use. So, and I won't be ranking units that don't make sense here. Yeah, speedrun. No. Okay, here she's gonna be A tier. She only provides attack speed buff and nothing else. Asenath S plus. She provides a team-wide Lotus Mark and also a recovery. If you speed tune her well, she can actually remove 4 stacks from everyone. Yeah, Asenath once again S plus tier for all 3 Dislyte lens. This one S tier. She is one of the best damage mitigation Esper you can bring, and also a healer. Her S3 is on a 3-turn cooldown, so it means you can use her S3 twice during the buffing phase. So she can remove 4 stacks from everyone. Bardon, C tier. He does have a defense buff, but lacks damage. Celine, another S plus tier Esper, one of the best. If you have her, you definitely want to bring her. Her S2 is what you will bring her for. I'm losing my voice, god damn. I just talked like for 1 hour. Celine is her S2 provides a 1-turn defense buff, which is amazing. 1 turn defense buff is good because you don't want buffs to stack, and a speed buff 2 turns, and also a cleanse, all in one skill. So her S2 removes 3 stacks from everyone, and you can cast it twice during the summoning phase. Sorry, not the summoning phase, the buffing phase. So she can remove a total of 6 stacks from everyone. Speedrun, boom, C tier. She doesn't have an attack up and also a nuke S3, but nothing else. Catherine, S plus tier. Better version of Jinyu Yao, except she doesn't heal, but her S3 provides 1 buff, which is standoff on a 1 turn. And standoff is really good because it's a very unique buff. Only a couple Espers give standoff buff, and her passive is just like Jinyu Yao except for the heal. So if you can make her remove 4 turns, she can remove 6 stacks in total from everyone. Pretty much guaranteed because her passive is a cleanse instead of a buffing, so it will never stack. Changpu C, a heal and an immunity, but you already have a Berenice for the healing if you really need a healer. Sorry, let me just open this real quick. Chloe, S plus, best single target damage dealer in Shadowgale. Biggest problem with her is a S2 extends buff. So if you can see from my team later, she's gonna have the most amount of debuffs stacks on her because she extends the buff, so the buffs on her will always overlap. But still, S plus, you don't need times 18 multiplier to get EX plus when you bring her. Drew, C tier, good single target damage, but nothing else. Fabrice, B tier, he does have a immunity and a single target invincibility. His AP push is only 1 target, which is kinda bad. You want a team-wide AP push. And his S1 also gives a recovery buff. Now, recovery buff is really good is because they don't stack. You can have like multiple recovery buff and it will still count as 1 buff each, so that's pretty good. But he doesn't offer anything else aside from a few buffs. It's whatever he's called, the dog. He has a pretty decent single target damage, but his biggest problem is S2 providing himself with an attack buff, which means he is gonna stack with your what's it called, other supports attack buffer. He has a standoff buff, self standoff buff, pretty good, unique buff. So it's gonna remove one buff from him. Gabrielle, C tier. Her S3 has a 2 buffs, double buffs, immunity and defense up. The biggest problem is defense up is quite common. Celine already provides a defense buff, and you never want to bring another Esper that provides the same buff. But she can kind of work if you're starting out. The defense buff helps you survive a little bit, and the immunity removes 1 stack, and her S1 deals pretty good amount of damage. Hengyue is gonna go C tier. She has pretty good healer, but her S3 only removes 1 buff, 1 stack from everyone. Her S2 removes 1 buff. Oh my god, I keep saying buff. 1 stack, 1 debuff stack from 1 Esper every time she moves. She's not that good. Jin Yao S tier, not S plus, because Catherine is just way better than her. She does provide a heal, whereas Catherine does not. But she doesn't have an S3 that gives buff, so she can at most just remove 4 to 5 stacks from everyone, which is still pretty good. But Catherine can do 2 more than her, because she has a buff on her S3, which is a standoff 1 turn buff. Next we have Hathor Lin. I'll put her at A tier for now. She does have a immunity on her S1, so every time she has once, it is going to remove 1 buff. And her S3 does have a buff, which is a shield buff on herself. She does a pretty good single target damage. She has a attack elite, so yeah, pretty good. Narmer, C tier. His S1 kinda fucks him over, because every time he has once, he's gonna gain a 2 turn attack buff, so he will always have an attack buff present, which is not good. You don't want to have 100% uptime on your buffs, because it means that you're gonna stack the buffs and not reduce the stacks. And also his single target damage is nothing, so never bring him in what's it called, Shadowgale, even though you have him built. Next we have Sally. I'm gonna put Sally at A tier. Her S3 is pretty good. Has a cleanser on each of your Esper. Every time they move, they're gonna remove 1 stack on them. And her S2 provides an attack buff and a cleanse, so it's gonna remove 2 stacks from everyone, as long as you don't stack the attack buff. Sander, another S plus, the best speed lead that you can bring, and also probably the best speed lead, the best leader skill. Maybe you can use a 40% attack lead and receive similar results if you have a good speed runes. But his biggest problem is his S2 is not a big problem, it's just a minor problem. His S2 provides him a speed buff, which stacks with her. Yeah, one of the best single target damage dealer in the game. Tang Yun, I'll put him at A tier. Pretty good single target damage, but he's pretty slow and yeah, doesn't really offer that much aside from single target damage. Liling, I'll put him at B tier. He has a tech buff lead and also a pretty strong S2 nuke, but aside from that, nothing else. Louis, A tier, same as Tang Yun. I'll put him the same as Tang Yun, but maybe you can put him at S tier because his single target damage is quite good. His S3 is on a 3 turn cooldown. His S1 deals a lot of damage as well. And he also has a attack buff, 30% attack buff lead. Next we have Louis. I've got him. I'm gonna put him at S tier. This is the one time that Louis additional turn that he doesn't extend buff works for him, because when he gets an additional turn he procs out of buffs, so it reduces the chance of you stacking buffs on him. But he also has a crit rate buff, so it might stack with Dahlia instead, but he does a pretty good single target damage. Tang Xuan, I'm just gonna put him at C tier for those that do go for him instead of Li Ling. He has a attack buff lead, but his damage is shit. Yeah, that's all I can say. His damage is shit. Unos, I haven't really seen many people use him. I'll put him at S tier for now, S plus tier for now. Every time he moves, he puts one immunity on everyone except for himself. So, and in the immunity is only one turn, which is good. That it kind of reduces the chance of stacking the immunity on a certain Esper. And he has a 30% AP push on a 3-turn cooldown. Just amazing AP pusher, the best AP pusher in the game, the best turn cycler in the game. Next, I'm gonna rank the twins at C tier. This guy has a speed buff that overlaps with Celine. He has a crit rate buff that overlaps with Dahlia. Just not good. Single target damage is pretty good. It's okay, but yeah, again, you need both of them at the same time. And if you run both of them at the same time, you can't run either Chloe or Sander or both of them. So you're losing out on a 25% speed lead. Next, I've seen some people use Ankichai with Asenath, but he is a very RNG. It's not a cooldown battery. It's a RNG battery, more like. Yeah, if you run him as a sole attack buffer, then you need to rely on his S2 to reduce the cooldown, which is not reliable. And if you run him with another attack buffer, then you're not reducing the stacks. So yeah, that's his dilemma in here. Next we have her. I'm gonna put her at A tier. She has a 3-turn attack buff and a defense buff, so you can cast it twice. And also she has an invincibility and recovery. She's solid. Let me see if I've missed anyone here. Nope. Cecilia, I'm gonna put her at A tier. She has a cleanse and a immunity on her S3, so if you speed tune her right, you can actually remove 4 stacks in total from everyone. Yeah, pretty good. But she does nothing else aside from that. Dahlia, once again S plus tier, the best attack booster in the game, because she also provides AP push and also crit rate buff. That's all she does. That's all she needs to do. Yeah, if you speed tune her right enough, you can remove 4 stacks from everyone. Clara, I'll put her at S tier. Her S3 removes 2 buffs as long as it overheals, because that overheal turns into a shield, and her S1 is not. The S1 shield is different from the S3 shield, so it's not gonna stack. Like, pay close attention to my team. Like, you can see, like, sometimes one of my units, they have one shield and then another shield buff, and that's because it's from Clara's S1. Next we have him. I'll put him at S tier. From one of my viewers, he said that Tever's passive is gonna allow him to double cast any skill, but his S3 is on a pretty long cooldown and his passive doesn't work. I mean, he doesn't reduce his cooldown, doesn't gain an additional turn, but instead he gets a double cast on every skill he uses, because the Dislyte Land boss does not have an HP bar. So yeah, he has a pretty solid single target damage. It makes him his S1 have a 260% multiplier, while his S3 has a 460% on a 5 turn, which is it's okay, I guess. I'll put him at S tier for now. Sienna, A tier. I'm gonna put her at A tier for now. She has a attack buff and a speed buff. Speed buff is amazing. Not much to say there. I'll put her at A. She works the same as Clara. Her S3 shield does not stack with her passive shield because they're different values. So yeah, she does quite well in reducing the debuff stacks. She does provide a pretty unique buff, which is invincibility, but she has a defense buff that is quite common. Here Celine does defense buff, she does defense buff, some other Esper does defense buff. So yeah, she's gonna go at C tier, and her S3 is quite long. Ahmed is gonna go at B tier for now. His supporting songs does not work. As long as your Esper has 1 stack of supporting song, it's not gonna reduce any further. Stuart, B tier. His sleep mechanic does not work in here. He's a pretty good single target damage, but yeah, that's all he is. Single target damage dealer that does not quite work because his sleep mechanic is not gonna proc. Who's next? Zora is C, type disadvantage, weak single target damage, and also a speed buff on her S2 that might stack with some of these Espers. Ophelia, I'm gonna put her at S tier. Solid single target damage dealer on a 3 turn cooldown, and with the nature of Shadowgale, you want to be buff stacking, so her S2 actually deals quite decent damage. Excuse me. She does have a speed buff, and her S2 does 2 buffs on 1 Esper. Yeah, 1 Esper. Yeah, that's about it for her. Alice, I'll put her at A tier. She's kind of counterintuitive in Shadowgale. You don't want it to be extending your buffs, because extending your buffs means that you have a higher chance of stacking them. But every time she moves, she provides a attack buff for everyone. So if you can work around that, then she might actually be good. I've seen some people use her with Asenath and get EX++. So yeah, she could work. JJ, I'm gonna put him at B tier. He does have slightly higher speed compared to other damage dealers, because every time he reduces his HP, he does gain a bit of speed, but his single target damage is kinda lacking. It's less than Liling. Li Guang, I'm gonna put him at A tier for now. I don't think he's S tier. His single target damage is kinda shit because of his long 4 turn cooldown on his S3. Yeah, that's pretty much him. I think he's at A tier. He doesn't have a good leader skill. Ggez, I'm gonna put him at A tier. He's still a strong damage dealer here, even though being type disadvantage, and he also has a teamwide shield buff. So every time he goes into normal mode, he's gonna reduce 1 stack from everyone. Ashley, I'm gonna put her at A tier. She has an attack buff, and that Bifrost is pretty good to make your supports do a little bit more damage. But her single target damage is kind of lacking. But she does have a good leader skill buff, which is a 30% attack lead. Next we have Abigail, which is unfortunate. I can't put her at S tier. I'm losing my voice, man, bruh. S tier because she has too many buffs that stacks with other good Espers. She has a total of 4 buffs, so if you can make a team around her, then you can like remove 8 stacks from everyone. She has an attack buff, absorb, defense up, and a shield. But the biggest problem is having an attack buff, because Dahlia has an attack buff and she has a defense buff, and Celine has a defense buff. And these 2 units are the best to bring in Shadowgale, pretty much. So yeah, it's kind of hard to use Abigail in here because of the buffs that she stacks, and the AI is kind of dumb. Next, Brewster. I'll put him at, I think he's S+, but I'll put him at S for now because I don't have much experience with him, and I've not seen anyone use him in Shadowgale as of yet. He does have a good leader skill, 40%. It might be better than Sander, but I don't quite know. And his pursuit kind of lets him get a bunch of turns because it boosts his AP by 30%, 24%, and then gradually lowers by 6% each time. And his damage is single target damage capabilities is actually really good. With the assists, he can do like a 500% multiplier because he has 5 assists, and his S1 does 100% damage. So yeah, I'm gonna put him S3 for now. He might be S+, but I haven't seen him much. Oh yeah, his biggest problem is having a crit rate buff on his S3, which overlaps with Dahlia. So yeah, that might be the biggest downfall for him, but I'm not too sure. It's only 1 buff, so it might be okay. I think we're done, right? Oh yeah, Odette, she does have a unique buff, but yeah, I'm just gonna put it as C tier. Alright, yeah, so that's everyone. I've been talking for like an hour and 30 minutes. The first one took me an hour, and I thought it was a bit too long because I rambled a bit too long. I made this one a little bit too a bit shorter. And yeah, this is the tier list for Shadowgale as of patch 3.1.4. Make sure you farm tier if you're really into RTA. You have 30 days until RTA ends, and tier is top tier. Hey, see what I did there? Come on now. Okay. Yeah, tier is top tier in RTA. Make sure you Rezo 6 him if you actually give a shit about RTA. Yeah, good luck farming, and ciao.